Can you all hear anything now? Oh, good. You can hear it now. Oh, great. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. You'd think I'd have this figured out, but clearly I'm still work in progress. If it's too high or too low, let me know. Dave, I know you're an expert at using this, but I am not. So, anyway, thanks for your patience, everybody, and welcome. Uh, you'll have to excuse if I'm talking a little bit softer. I do have a sleeping baby in the house right now, but yeah, thank you again for coming. This is our announcement for the third edition of Pocket Pennant Run. For the next 20 minutes or so, I'll take you through all the new things that Craig and I have put into the game. We'll also talk about when the game is going to get released. We'll talk about the software, all the new aspects, and some of the stuff that we're planning for the future. I apologize for spelling announcement wrong. It's one of those things that you don't notice until the second you go live, and then you see it and you go, oh shoot, I spelled that wrong. So um, anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. As you can see, this is the new box for the third edition. We are taking advantage of the resources we have at the Game Crafter, which is who makes our game. And they make these really, really beautiful boxes. So I think you're going to love this full color box with this vintage art on it. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so talking about the design of the game, like I said, we've got this new full color box with vintage style art on the front and the back. It's really it's a quality box. It's something that'll last you a while, and it still retains sort of that small, handheld size. We're doing something new this year with what we're calling jumbo cards. They fit perfectly inside the new box. They fit exactly inside the new box. And it's basically roughly the same size as two poker-sized cards. I actually have something that is this is the size of what we're calling our jumbo card. This is not the actual card itself. This is just card stock that I have in the size of it. But like I said, it's about the size of two poker-sized cards. And because we're using this new size box and because these fit perfectly in the box, what we're actually doing is we're putting two charts on each card. So when you lay your charts out, you can kind of lay them out like this in like a row of four, and you get those two charts. Less cards to put out, and like I said, it fits really well in the box. The dead ball charts will be on the opposite side, so we are bringing back the dead ball charts. We have modern and dead ball charts, and the dead ball will just be on the reverse side. We're also changing the shape of the charts a little bit. They're going to be laid out horizontally. Traditionally, you've been used to seeing the charts laid out basically like a playing card sort of shape, sort of that vertical shape, but now we're kind of turning them the other direction and turning them horizontal. And the reason we did that is because we were running out of horizontal space to put things for the results. And I'll show you an example of what the chart looks like, but it's just more of an aesthetic thing. It just looks a little bit different. Modern and dead ball era designations are a little easier to read on these new cards. We got some feedback from the community, and honestly, Craig warned me about this before we released the second edition, but I was foolish and didn't listen. But it was a little bit hard to tell with the stars in the corner of the chart. One was like silver and one was gold. It was hard to tell which one was silver and gold because the stars were so small. So people were having trouble telling which one were the modern cards and which ones were the dead ball cards. So we fixed that to make it much clearer which is which. And then we're going to include, this was a request, somebody I think posted this on the Facebook group just like 2 weeks ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, about a quick reference card. So we're going to include a quick reference card with all the physical games that just have all the results on it. So you don't always have to have the rules out next to you. You can just have that quick reference card so that when you see a result on the charts, you can just have that quick reference card out sitting next to you for easy reference there. By the way, like Craig said in the chat, if you have any questions, Craig can help you out. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll kind of look through the chat and see if there were any questions that maybe I can address. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about roster cards. We have a new design for the roster cards where the batters and the pitchers are on the same side of the card. Again, we're using these bigger size jumbo cards that allow us to put the entire roster on one side of the card. Instead of including the most recent season's 8 divisional playoff teams like we did in the first 2 editions, the 3rd edition is going to include a new roster card set that includes 12 teams. So you're actually getting 4 more teams, and we're calling it the Great American Teams roster card set. It's going to include some of the best all-time teams from Major League Baseball, from Negro League Baseball, and a 3rd league that we're going to talk about a little bit later that we're pretty excited about. So when we're talking best all-time teams, you're going to see some of the standard teams that people are always talking about, the 75 Reds, the 98 Yankees, the 86 Mets. All of those classic teams are going to be in this set, along with a couple Negro League teams. Like I said, there's going to be Kansas City Monarchs, the Homestead Grays, who else? I can't think off the top of my head. But we're going to have 6 Major League teams, 4 Negro League teams, and then 2 other teams from the league we'll talk about a little bit later. So this is what the new roster card is going to look like. So here's 75 Reds. This is a card that's going to come with both the physical and the print and play game. As you can see, we've got batters and pitchers on the same card. You'll also notice a couple things down at the bottom of the card that we'll talk about a little bit later. But again, that's coming on this bigger card like this. You can have everything on one side. It's really a perfect fit, and it looks really nice. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk a little bit about ratings. In the first 2 editions of the game, we used the same criteria for generating the A through D ratings for batters and pitchers. We didn't change anything from the first and second edition. But for the 3rd edition, we did change one thing. We've always been kind of reluctant to change the ratings because we didn't want anybody's previously purchased physical cards to no longer apply. This one's a relatively minor change. It's not going to change everybody. It's only going to change a couple people. But what it is, we decided to change the way in which we calculated a batter's power rating. Previously, we used extra base hits per plate appearance as our metric to determine someone's power, but as there was a discussion on the Facebook page, I don't know, about a month and a half ago, about the fact that using that statistic as your way of getting your power rating actually negatively affects batters with low batting averages. Someone brought up Kyle Schwarber, and he's a great example of someone who has really great power, but because his batting average is so low, it was actually affecting his power rating as well. And we're seeing more and more guys kind of like Kyle Schwarber who hit for low average but have great power, and we still want those guys to have high power ratings. So, for example, I think Kyle Schwarber had, for this past season, he had a B power rating when we all know he's one of the elite power hitters. So what we've actually changed to is a statistic called isolated power. It's called ISO. You can look it up online. I won't go through the details of exactly how it's calculated, but it's a much more reliable statistic that measures a player's raw power, not so much their batting average. Or their batting average does not come into effect on that. So when we took Kyle Schwarber and looked at his isolated power, he was like 9th in the league. So that made sense. So we decided to make the switch to that power rating. So you're going to see a handful of guys. I'm trying to think, maybe like 25% of guys might have slightly different power ratings, and we feel this is going to be a little bit more accurate. I'm gonna try to keep up with the chat here, just so that I don't have to scroll back too far. You can still get every player in the spreadsheets. Okay, Craig answered that. The charts are the same. Basically, the charts that we're using are the same. There are some very slight changes, and we'll talk about those here in just a little bit. Any chance of formatting the spreadsheet to print all players in a simpler layout rather than a full page? Yeah, we'll have to look into that. If you can let us know, Dave, more specifically kind of what you're looking for, we might be able to do some formatting changes on that. But yeah, keep the questions coming, guys. This dialogue's great. You know, it really helps us continue to make the game better, and especially with the software, we can make updates. All right, so that's the new power rating. Let's talk a little bit about gameplay. Gameplay is still the game that you know and love. It's still a really easy game to learn, easy game to play that plays relatively quickly. Our aim this time around, like last time, was to make sure that we're not making the game more complex. I told somebody on the Facebook group a couple months ago that sort of my gauge is that if I can't fit the rules on an 8.5 by 11 page double-sided at like a 9-point font, then the game's become too complex. I want all the rules to be able to fit on one page. But we are trying to add more depth and more realism to the game. The rulebook and charts have been refined to be as clear and easy to understand as possible, so we've changed some symbols and moved some things around a little bit. Nothing that should change the way the game is played, but just actually make it a little bit easier maybe to understand some things. Charts have been tweaked a little bit to achieve even more realistic results. We felt pretty good about the realism that we hit in the second edition. The first edition had some weird things with batting averages and power. We addressed a lot of that stuff in the second edition and felt pretty good about it. So you're not going to see any massive changes to the charts. Just a couple little things here and there. I added a few more walks. There weren't quite enough walks in there. We did change stolen bases. We dropped stolen base success rate down by one number. Because it seemed like the stolen base success rate was a little high in the second edition. So stolen bases are going to be just a little bit more challenging. All right, so that's a little bit about the gameplay. We have some more gameplay stuff here. This was a popular request and something that I think makes a lot of sense. We just had to find the right way to put it on the charts. But whenever you have a single plus, a double plus, triple plus, whatever plus is, which for those who've played the game know that means you can stretch an extra base, or you have the opportunity to stretch an extra base. Previously, just the hitter's or the batter's speed is what you rolled on to determine whether you could stretch a hit an extra base. But now we're actually going to base it on both the runner's speed, the batter's speed, and the outfielder's defense rating. This is very similar to when you steal a base. It's a combination of the runner's speed and the catcher. So what we had to do in order to do this was to designate where base hits and doubles and triples were hit to. So when you look at the chart, you're going to see, like, for example, single plus 8, meaning it was a single hit to the center fielder. And you have the opportunity to test the center fielder's arm to stretch that base. So again, rather than just the batter's speed determining whether you can stretch hit an extra base, the outfielder is going to come into play as well. We have a new result called FDP. It's an outfielder basically making a great catch, a catch that a runner on base maybe didn't think that they were going to make. So outfielder makes dazzling catch. A runner on first is thrown out, retreating back to the bag for a double play. And the inspiration behind this was in the, I think it was the NLCS, right? The NLCS with the Braves and the Phillies, and the game ending with Michael Harris making that great catch in center and throwing out Bryce Harper, who thought the ball was not going to get caught and is running back to first, and he gets thrown out. So when I saw that play, and that ended the game, it was such an exciting way to end that game and really an awesome series. When I saw that play, I was like, oh, we have to put that in the game. So we've got the fly out double play in the game as well. I see some questions coming up. I'm going to finish this slide, and then I'll try to address some of these questions here. We've got a ground ball double play with an exclamation point. If you remember from the second edition, we added a column on the base running chart that was just like an exclamation point, and we used that for breaking up double plays, stealing home, drop third strike. That is still there, But now the only double plays that you're going to roll on that exclamation chart are the ones that have this symbol on it, this a GDP exclamation point. It's the specific destination to roll on the exclamation point chart to see if the batter reaches first safely. And the reason I did that was so that you don't have to re-roll. If you hit into a double play off of the defense chart previously, you had to re-roll the blue die to see if the batter reaches safely. Now you don't have to do that. So again, we're trying to find ways to streamline the game a little bit more, not have to do extra rolls. So that was one way to take one extra roll out of the game. So you're going to see that on the chart. So now if you just roll a regular ground ball double play, it's an automatic out. But if you see the exclamation point after it, that's when you're going to consult that blue die to see if the batter reaches first. Okay, a little bit more gameplay. We have a new symbol, a new result on the power chart, which is just called park, and that is a ballpark result. It works basically the same as power, but depending on where the game is being played and the ballpark it's being played at, it's going to factor into what type of power result that is, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the new features section, but you're going to see that park result on the power chart. A couple things about pitcher fatigue. All pitchers are now going to drop both a pitcher rating and a control rating once their fatigue number is reached, but they'll only drop a pitcher rating when they're surrendering runs. So the old rule was if you surrender more than 4 runs, you drop a pitcher rating, and then once you reach your fatigue number, you continue to drop fatigue ratings every inning. Now, once you reach your fatigue number, you're going to drop a pitcher rating and a control rating. It's a little extra penalty for going past your fatigue number. And, you know, when you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Pitchers, as they tire, they lose control. So I saw this pop up in a number of people's homebrew rules, and I thought that makes a lot of sense. So let's go ahead and do that. And I think Craig and I had talked about it, and Craig had some ideas on that, and we kind of agreed that this would be a good way to do it. Now, another thing that we've sort of we drew a line in the sand, or we have been drawing a line in the sand for the last 2 years about this upcoming topic here, this third bullet point, but I've conceded basically. So we're making this kind of a quote-unquote optional rule, but people were always asking, well, if a pitcher's throwing a shutout, you know, can they keep their pitcher rating as they're throwing that shutout? Now, it's always, you know, my feeling was always no, they should fatigue as normal. It makes decisions more challenging. But if you'd like to use this optional rule, if a starting pitcher is throwing a shutout and reaches their fatigue number, their pitcher rating may remain unaffected, but their control rating will drop as normal. I didn't totally concede. I had to hold on to a little bit of control there. So their pitcher rating can remain unaffected, but their control rating drops as normal. Once they give up a run, then their pitcher rating will start dropping as normal. So sort of made a concession there. If you decide to use that, great. If you don't, that's okay too. It's the beauty of the game. You can do it however you want. All right, let me take a look at the questions here. What things does the dead ball chart impact as opposed to the regular charts? Yeah, so Craig basically covered that. Power is very much reduced. It's very, I won't say impossible, but it's very rare to hit a home run in the dead ball style play. You're much more likely to hit a triple or a double. There's quite a few more errors, and the chances of getting a hit are lessened. So you're going to see a lot more 3-to-1 games, 3-to-2, 2-to-1 type games where you're really going to have to sort of scratch and claw for every run, play a little bit of small ball, move runners over through sacrifices, stuff like that. So it's just a different style of play. Some people really prefer that dead ball style, so that's what we offer with the dead ball charts. All right, let's talk about the rare play chart. Once again, we revamped the rare play chart. That was just something that every year I've never really been totally happy with the rare play chart. Everybody does their rare plays differently. I've seen games that have like 10 pages of rare plays, everything from drop third strike or catcher's interference, all the way to the batter got drunk the night before and is in a slump now. Just like really strange things. It's kind of up to the player what type of rare plays they like. We tried to kind of strike a balance here with rare plays, and we wanted to focus this time on rare plays that are in-game action. So we made the decision to completely take injuries out. We've taken ejections out, rain delays. We've tried to keep our rare plays to things that are happening in the game, because I know for me, when I would land on a rare play like a rain delay, it's like, well, I don't really want my pitchers to drop a rating. I just want to play the game. So we tried not to do anything that would take players out of the game or make big changes to the game. Just try to keep it on on the field action. Okay, so but if you want to add injuries, ejections, any sort of rare plays, totally up to you. This is just what we're offering in the game, and this is kind of what we're presenting as what we feel is the best version of the game, but you may disagree, and that's okay. Rare plays are now also divided into two categories. One category is bases empty, and one category is runners on. So now, whenever you land on a rare play, it will always apply to the situation that you're in. Previously, there were cases where if you landed on a rare play, maybe that scenario didn't apply to you, and you just had to skip it, and that's no fun. So now it will always apply to the situation you're in. Also, some rare plays now take player ratings into account. Maybe what a player's speed is. If he's this speed, this result happens. If he's this speed, this result happens. So I'll give you a quick look at the rare play chart. And this is also kind of your first look at what the horizontal charts look like. They're a little bit different. They're a little bit shorter and fatter, I guess, as opposed to tall and skinny. But you can see there's a bases empty column and a runners on column. There's only 8 rare plays. And again, we really tried to boil it down to stuff that happens on the field. Again, if you want to add more rare plays, by all means, you are more than welcome to add more. But we thought that kind of sticking it to just the ones that we see most often and not the really, really rare plays makes the game more interesting. All right, let me check the chat here. Okay, so I kind of guess I kind of have an idea of what you're asking, Jamie, about the double impacted. So for those who don't know, the way that we do our ratings, sorry, Dave, yeah, I answered real quick, Dave, our charts are still on one PDF page. And when you roll a rare play, it's the dice, all 3 dice land on the same number. But back to Jamie's question. So for those who don't know, when we're doing our ratings, we compare all the players based on that specific year. So you're not going to see the dead ball era players have lower ratings than modern players. As far as like power, you're not going to see them all have like C and D power, because those players are being compared to other players in that same year. So for example, maybe in the year 1919, a guy that hit, 8 home runs might be A power, but in 2023, a guy that hit 8 home runs might be C or D power. So it adjusts from year to year. So the ratings are kind of based on each era. So you're not going to see dead ball era guys with lower ratings. The charts are what's going to affect that. You're still going to see A, B, C, and D in the same sort of distribution for every year, but the charts are kind of what changes the game. I hope that sort of answers the question. It's a little confusing to explain. Okay, some new features in the game. As I mentioned earlier, we're now incorporating ballpark ratings. So there's a park result in the batter chart that takes into account the ballpark the game is being played at, and it affects the outcome. All Major League ballparks dating all the way back to 1920 have been rated for favorability. As you know, we generally rate ballparks as hitter-friendly, pitcher friendly, or neutral, somewhere in the middle. And that's how we've rated. We've just done 3 ratings. We're not trying to get too advanced here. Again, we're trying to keep the game simple, streamlined. So we wanted to add a ballpark effect, but not have it bog down the game. So every major league ballpark, and this is just MLB for now, back to 1920 has been added and rated for favorability. And you can find those on the roster cards that you'll get in the physical box and in the print and play, and then in the manager software. So when you print a scorecard off the software, it's going to show you the name of the ballpark as well as its favorability. And again, that's going to affect how the power chart is read. And basically, you're just going to be adding or subtracting ratings based on the park's favorability. So that's a new element in the game that adds just a little extra excitement and adds another layer of realism based on where the game is being played. Manager ratings. About, I don't know, I would say right about when we released the 2nd edition, maybe a couple months before the 2nd edition, I had shared a couple cards that were called manager traits. And basically, I had looked up the 2022 managers and found information about how often they call things like steals or sacrifice bunts or intentional walks or calls to the bullpen, and made cards for them. And a lot of people really liked those. So we've now expanded those manager traits. We were using like a plus-minus system, but we've now converted that to our standard A through D ratings, just like the players, for managers. And we actually have the data for managers going all the way back to 1918. And this is Major League managers, mind you. Those are the ones we have data on. So what this does is it helps replicate the tendencies of managers to call these plays. There's also a new column on the strategy play card that's just called manager, and it's kind of like stealing a base in the sense that you roll a die, and if the manager's rating matches the result that you land on, the manager should call that play. And like I said, managers are rated A through D, so the most aggressive base stealers, most aggressive base stealing teams, the manager would have an A base stealing rating. If his team doesn't steal many bases at all, he would have a D rating, and then people in between. So the reason we have that is for when you're playing solo, you can try to replicate what those, if you're trying to do a simulation or like a replay, and you want to try to replicate what those managers would have done, you can roll on that manager column to see if you can get those accurate results. And I can actually, if I go all the way back here for you, whoops, too far back. If you can see on here, we've got Sparky Anderson on here, and there are his ratings right there down at the bottom that show his aggressiveness for stealing bases or sacrificing or walking or going to the bullpen. So it kind of gives you an opportunity to replicate what those managers would do. Some people may not use that. Some people may really like to use it. It's just an extra feature that we wanted to add in. Okay, let me check the chat. Looks like Craig is addressing things pretty well. Possible to get what ranges are used to determine if you're able to get park factors for other leagues. Yeah, so the way that we're determining ballpark favorability, there are some statistics freely available online that will give you sort of like range factors for ballparks. It's all out there in various resources, and we just pulled that information to determine ballpark favorability. Nothing super fancy. It just adds just another level of intrigue to the game. All right, let's keep going. New features. This is a really fun one that I came up with a couple months ago, and I'm really kind of excited about this one. This one's kind of fun, something a little bit different. So, a fictional franchise generator. So, in both the physical game and the PDF, you're going to receive an additional card. It's a two-sided card for the physical game that has 4 charts on it. And these 4 charts Use rolls of the dice to randomly generate players, managers, ball clubs, and ballparks. So you can create a fictional franchise in just a couple minutes, and you could create an entire fictional league in less than 30 minutes. I've done it. I sat down and made like a 12-team league and just kept rolling dice and writing down what I got. We've made these charts, we tweaked them to be as realistic as possible so that the teams that you end up with are going to have similar ratings and attributes to what you would see on a real baseball team. The PPR Manager software also includes an expanded generator that will even generate random player names and ball club names and locations. So you can really have a lot of fun with this. We've had people ask in the past, would you ever consider doing fictional leagues? And this is a way to do that. So you can come up with your own fictional league. We've run leagues in the past. It'd be really fun to potentially do a fictional league where everybody rolls a fictional team and then we pit them up against each other. So here's a look at what the batter generator card looks like. So let me explain kind of how you do this. My goal was you only need to roll the dice once in order to generate a player rating. I don't want people to have to roll dice multiple times for one player, or it would take a really long time to generate a team. So here's how it works. You're going to roll your red, yellow, and blue dice. Your red die is going to tell you your batter's handedness. It's going to tell you your yellow is going to tell you your generated player's batter rating and their power rating. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take in this column to determine their speed and defense. In the speed column, you're going to take both the red and yellow die, and you're going to look at whether the numbers that you rolled were even or odd. If they were both even, then your generated player's speed is going to be D. If red was odd and yellow was even, he's going to be C. If red was even and yellow was odd, he'll be B. And then if both the red and yellow dies are odd, he's going to be A. Okay, and then in this last column for defense, you're going to take yellow and blue and do the same thing. So you're kind of pulling all of the information you can from these dice to generate a full player. Now, this is not giving the player's position or name, but it is giving you all the stats that you need to create a player, and then you can just assign them positions. The pitcher card is very similar. The manager card is very similar. And then for ballparks and team names, well, I'll let you see those later. They're kind of fun, but it allows you to generate a fictional team and kind of run your own fictional league. So I found this to be a fun feature, just kind of creating my own fictional team. So yeah, it's a fun little addition to the game. Okay, so I'm looking at the question about the ballparks. Yeah, if you have park factors for other leagues or other ballparks, you can very easily apply those to, you can just designate on your own whether it's a hitter or pitcher or neutral park, and it's up to you. You can decide what the metric is. I don't remember offhand what we used to decide which way each one went, but you can kind of use that however you want. Okay, let's talk a little about the software. Craig has been working really hard adding a bunch of new features to the software, and again, if you've purchased a game in the past, you'll get the software for free. You'll get a free update, but we do hope that you check out the 3rd edition. There's a lot of integration in the 3rd edition with the 3rd edition of the software. So definitely would recommend checking out the 3rd edition of the game and the software. So the schedules and as-played lineups, Craig's gone through and double-checked them. He's verified them. In some cases, had to make some slight tweaks. So the lineups and schedules and as-played lineups should be as accurate as they could possibly be. There were a couple bugs, manual input of replay games. There were some inaccuracies in reporting stats. We fixed that. Score sheets are updated with space for the changes in control rating. Previously, again, we didn't have changes in control rating, but now when you generate a score sheet, it's going to very much like the pitcher rating, where you kind of get 4 empty boxes to show the change in pitcher rating, it's going to be the same thing for control. You're going to have 4 little boxes you can change control over time. Again, like I mentioned, the fictional franchise generator is going to be in the software. You can save those created teams, those fictional teams. You can simulate games with them. You can even print roster cards for your generated teams. And then we've made sure that in the software, the power ratings have been recalculated using that isolated power statistic. One really exciting thing that Craig has been working on and working with the creator here is some really nice integration with a spreadsheet called Green Fox. This was made by a guy named Mike Ignatsky. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Hopefully I got it right. Mike, if you're here, sorry. Ignatowski, maybe, something like that. But anyway, he's got a popular spreadsheet. It's free, totally free. It's this really detailed Excel spreadsheet that functions as an electronic baseball scorecard. It automatically computes game stats. Craig's been using it a lot. I haven't had really a chance to dig into it too deep, but Craig's been using it and really likes filling out his games and filling out his scorecard using this Excel sheet. There's the Facebook group if you'd like to go check it out. But Craig and Mike have been working together to integrate this Green Fox spreadsheet into the software. So what you're going to be able to do is you can export your score sheets that you created in our manager software right into Green Fox so that you can start filling out your scorecard there. And then once you finish your scorecard and complete it, you can import those results from your completed games back into the PPR Manager software. So if you've been using Green Fox already, this is going to be a really great update for you because it's going to make keeping stats and creating games and keeping stats and putting them back into the software for your simulations really easy. If you haven't checked out Green Fox, definitely check it out. But this is a really exciting update that Craig and Mike have been working on a lot. So, we thank Mike for allowing us to intermingle with his spreadsheet. So pretty exciting. In addition to generating full roster cards, the software now, and this was one of Craig's really cool ideas that I think is really neat. The software now has the ability to create individual player cards, sort of in the tradition of so many of the other classic baseball sims like Strat, APBA, History Maker. Really, a lot of the games, Payoff Pitch, Deep Drive, all of these classic games that use individual player cards. Our game's a little bit different in that we have those full roster cards just because we use the 4 ratings, but Craig has kind of done a really interesting twist on this to where he's kind of combined a player card with a sort of a fast action card in a sense, kind of. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I'll show you what I mean here in a second. But if you're using these player cards, it's going to allow you to play the game with virtually no charts other than if you need to occasionally use the strategy play chart or the rare play chart, which again, those are kind of optional, so you wouldn't have to use those. But you don't need any charts, and I'll show you kind of how that works. The player cards will also feature that player's stats for the season. So here's an example of 2 player cards that you can generate for any team that's in the software. As you can see, for Paul Goldschmidt, we've got his batter, power, speed, and defense ratings here. And basically, this is sort of essentially Paul Goldschmidt's individual charts. It's his columns on each chart. So there's your batter chart, there's your power chart, there's your speed chart for both stealing second and third, and there's your defense chart. So using this, that's basically what all you're going to need to be able to recreate what Goldschmidt is doing there. And again, you can see his stats down there. And then for the pitchers, we got pitcher control. So Michaelis is a C-rated pitcher. So Craig put his C and D ratings on there because those are the only 2 ratings he could have. And then for control, he's a B. So it's got B, C, and D on there, and then his defense rating. So basically everything that you need in order to play the game is right there in those cards, and you can print those out. I'm curious to see how people like these player cards. It's a little bit different than what we normally do, but we thought we'd give it a shot and see if people maybe like this alternate way of playing. All right, let me check out. Okay, so Dave, so let's give you an example here. Let's say we've got, even though they're on the same team, just for the sake of an example, let's say Michaelis is pitching to Goldschmidt. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice, and let's say I rolled a red 8. So I would look on Michaelis's card, and if I roll an 8, it says batter. So that means I'm going to go to Goldschmidt, and I'm going to look at the yellow die. Let's say the yellow die was an 11. So I would go down here on Goldschmidt's batter card, and if you land an 11, it's going to be power. So I would go to his power and look down here and say I rolled a blue 6, and he would have got a double. And that's a good thought, Dave. I was just thinking the exact same thing. It may be helpful for us to color code these, just for if you don't remember which die goes with which column. So that's a good thought. I think that's hopefully something we could pretty easily add in and color code those columns just like we have on the original cards. So yeah, that's how those work. Yeah, and you're right. These cards are a little bit more busy. It's a lot more to fit into a card. But as time goes on, we will take feedback and maybe make tweaks and find ways to make them even easier to read. But I think Craig has is really onto something here with these player cards. And I think they could actually be really fun to play with. Okay, let's talk about the databases. 2023 updates. We've updated Major League Baseball, AAA Minor League Baseball, the MPB, the KBO, all with 2023 players. So you're going to get all those players from those seasons. Craig has also included Gold Glove winners. Schedules, as-played lineups for 2023 are all going to be in the new software. As we mentioned previously, all ballparks from 1871 to present, their names will be in the software. So if you print on a roster card, it'll tell you the name of the ballpark that the home team plays at. But then we've got that favorability factor for ballparks from 1920 through the present. And again, that kind of affects how the game is played. We've got those MLB managers from 1918 through present. We've got their names and ratings, because that's as far back as really the data goes as far as manager ratings, so back to 1918. And then, as previously mentioned, we do have a new league that we're adding to the database. So this is where you're going to do your drum roll, because this is kind of our big reveal. And it's going to be the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, or more affectionately known as the AGPBL. This has been a really exciting project that we've been working on for really since the second edition was released. Craig has been working painstakingly to get these stats from this league. The stats are not particularly easy to find, and they're not in any really easily capturable digital forms. So Craig went through the painstaking process of manually entering basically all the statistics for all of these women over the course of, I think, what was a 12-year league. So, I mean, hats off to Craig for doing this, because as far as I know, I don't think we're the only game that has incorporated the Girls Professional Baseball League, but as you'll see, we've got every player on every team for every year. So every season, 1943 through 1954, is represented here. Every team is represented. All of your favorite teams, the Rockford Peaches, the Racine Bells, Grand Rapids Chicks, all these great teams that you may have seen in A League of Their Own, whether it was the movie or the TV show, they're all represented here. And we've got every player. That's almost 600 women players that unfortunately have kind of been lost in time other than, you know, the movies and the TV show and occasionally hearing about it, but we just don't hear enough about this league and how unique of a league it was. And I'm personally, this is one of the most exciting things about this game that I've, in my opinion, that we've done with this game, because it's just an underrepresented league that we're now incorporating into the game. There are 2 AAG PBL teams included as physical roster cards. When you buy the physical game, you're going to get the 1950 Rockford Peaches and the 1951 South Bend Blue Sox, both championship teams, and those are going to come on those nice full-color roster cards. So now truly everyone has a league of their own. So really, really exciting stuff as far as including this league. And again, this has kind of been Craig's one of Craig's many big projects, but this was such a huge project, and he's really done a service not just for our game, but you know, for the game of baseball by allowing you to recreate this league and bring this league back to life. So I'm really excited about this one. We're introducing a new product that we think a lot of people might enjoy. We're going to be offering a product called the PPR Manager Scorebook. This is going to be a high-quality, full-color, spiral-bound notebook. It's going to include the handbook, the rulebook, with the software download included in it, the Great American Teams roster card set that I previously mentioned, the fictional franchise generators, and then there's going to be 82 specifically designed scorecards that have all the charts you need to play built into each page of the scorecard. So this is a completely standalone product. All you need to include are your own dice and a pencil, but this is the full game in this notebook. And this is what it looks like. So you're going to get 82 games worth. As you can see, these are all 8 charts you need to play the game. When you open up the notebook, all 8 charts are there, and then you've got your away team scorecard and your home team scorecard. Personally, this is a big product for me because I love just having everything with me that I can throw in my backpack. And all I need to do is open up my notebook, and the game is right there for me. I just need to bring my dice and a pencil. I'll fill out my lineups, and I'm ready to go. Again, this has 82 games in it, so you can play basically a full half season just in one notebook. And you can go back. You have all of your games archived and saved that you've played, all in this notebook. So that's going to be available on release day, along with the physical game, the print and play. And our plan is to hopefully, I'm going to be working on it this week, is to also have a new game mat ready for version 3. If you don't know what the game mat is, it's kind of this big, kind of this giant mouse pad that has all the charts on it that you can use as your reference charts to roll dice on. It's a real nice product. A lot of people have really enjoyed it. So we're going to have basically four products on release day. Like I said, the physical game will be on Game Crafter. The print and play will be available off our website. We'll have this notebook that will be available on our website as well. It's going to go through a service called lulu.com that prints these books really, really nice quality. And then the game mat, which will also be on the Game Crafter. So, you can pick and choose whatever you want. There's a lot of options on ways to play. Okay, and the game will be released on December 1st. So we've got about 2 weeks and change. Craig and I are putting the finishing touches on the game, getting it uploaded to the Game Crafter. We've ordered some sample games to make sure everything looks good. Craig is putting some finishing touches on this update of the software. There will probably be more software. In fact, I know there will be more software updates as time goes on because Craig has even more ideas. But there's just not enough time before release date. So there's going to be a bunch packed into this new release of the software, but there'll be even more updates coming. But December 1st will be the day. We'll go live on Game Crafter on our website. We'll post everything on our Facebook group. And the nice thing is, as I mentioned previously, going through the Game Crafter, fingers crossed, unless there's a shortage of supplies at the game crafter, the game will not go out of stock. We had issues in the past when we had big releases, that the game would go out of stock very quickly. We would have like 100 orders and they'd go in a day or two, but now it should be perpetually available. It does take a little bit longer to ship. That's just the reality of going through a big company, but again, if you get your order in on December 1st, I would hope that maybe you would get it before the holidays, but it's really kind of at the mercy of the game crafter. But what you are getting is a really, really high quality game. All right, so that's all I have for my presentation. I'm going to go back through the chat and just answer some questions. I think Craig's been doing a great job of answering everything, but I am going to just look and make sure there's not anything I would like to expand upon. Let's see here. Okay, people seem to like the cards. Okay. Will there be a way to play in the software for people like Ron who can't play cards and dice? That's a really good question. We've been talking a lot over the last couple of years about trying to incorporate a scoreboard or a dice roller into the actual software. And that may be something that we're looking at for a future update. We haven't put it in this version, but that's a really good thought, Dave. And thinking about people who maybe have physical limitations on playing, that's a good motivation for us to really dig into this. So we will definitely take a look at that. Still won't be enough to get my daughter to roll a game with me, unfortunately. I'll tell you, I'm really glad that we're releasing this Girls League into our game while we are, because I know about a year ago the TV show came out, which I really enjoyed, and there's kind of been this renewed interest in the women's league. In fact, just this Halloween, I saw a number of people dressed up as Rockford Peaches, like full baseball uniforms, a number of women. So it's cool. It's kind of making a little bit of a comeback back in society. So I think this is good timing. Okay. Okay, so yeah, Craig, you're mentioning the same thing about the electronic game, and that's kind of what I mentioned. Sorry, I'm probably like 10 minutes behind on the chat than where you guys are at. Can we expect to see a small ball print and play offering? Andreas, I am working on a new physical version of small ball that comes in the same package as Pocket Pen and Run. I hope to have it available sometime in the first quarter of 2024. I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I haven't forgotten about the print and play version. I do need to make that available, and I'll probably release that at the same time as the physical game. Dave, how much for the notebook? The plan right now, I believe, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I have it written down. Give me 1 second. I kind of got all the pricing written down here. So the notebook is going to be $24.99. So same cost as the physical game. Physical game is going to be $24.99 as well. But remember, the notebook is going to get you basically 82 scorecards. It's everything you need to play the game, and you get the link to download the software. So you're truly getting the full game, plus all those scorecards for the same price. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, Craig answered that. If I create myself, can I print a card of myself? Absolutely. Totally. Alright, I never played the game. Oh, okay, cool. So Jamie, you've never played a game before. You've never played the game before. Like Craig said, about 20 to 30 minutes after you've played some games, it goes by pretty quick. But there's a lot of fun decisions to be made. I would highly recommend, if you've never played the game before, you just want to kind of see somebody playing it, check out Dave's videos. Dave here in the chat, Dave Gardner has done a number of videos playing the game. Also, Ed Klingenberger has a channel called Board Ball. He's actually, I think, in the process right now of replaying the World Series. Is that right? He's replaying Arizona, and I guess he was doing one of the NL game, one of the NL playoff series. He's replaying it on his Board Ball channel. So he's doing it with Pocket Pen and Run. So check out Ed's page, Board Ball, on YouTube, and you can watch him play the game. I might have missed this, but can you play one team with the individual player cards and one team with the team cards? Probably. I would imagine you can. I haven't tried that yet, but I think you probably could. I think so for his page. Okay, cool. So I think that is all I have. I'm glad to see people are excited about the update. Greg and I are both pretty excited about the stuff we have to offer for this new edition. We really think it's going to be the best one yet. And again, we take a lot of community feedback into what we do. And we appreciate all the people who are active on the Facebook group, the people who email us and message us with questions and feedback. It really, really helps us continue to improve the game and continue to improve the software. It really is sort of a crowdsourced type game. So again, thanks for your time. Thanks for showing up. If you have more questions or want to know more about the game, you can message us on the Facebook group or send us an email, and we'll do our best to respond to you. But again, thanks so much for showing up, everyone. I hope you have fun. I hope you're excited about this new edition of the game. I know we are. And just keep an eye out on the Facebook page, and December 1st will be the day. So we're very excited. It's going to be a really good time. So thanks, everybody.